Je ne vais pas vous raconter l'histoire de ma vie. Comme on avait un peu le choix du sujet et que c'était très vaste et qu'on ne s'est pas parlé, donc on verra comment ça va s'arrimer ou pas. Je me suis dit que, et je vois que pour l'ensemble, je parle à d'autres baby boomers, alors ça tombe bien. Je me suis dit que j'allais vous parler, d'abord vous raconter brièvement, même si je vais ignorer le temps, 2 anecdotes récentes et ensuite vous lancer quelques chiffres et puis après, ça sera plus mon tour. So I'm going to tell you 2 stories that happened really recently, but that to me speak to one of the greatest changes in the Canadian political landscape that is upon us, and that is a significant change in the electoral demographics of the country. And one of those changes, the first is that we are about to have the first federal election in 2019, where baby boomers will finally be outnumbered by a demographic section called Generation Y. So I was listening to Greg Sorbara this morning talking about the challenge of an aging Canada and thinking, and the greater challenge is that it's not baby boomers who are going to be driving the policy bus as to what happens to the graying of Canada, but it's going to be Generation Y. I know that makes you all feel better about your older age. Already in 2015, younger voters had a significant impact on the result, much more significant impact than they had had in just about any previous election, except, of course, the elections when we were the younger voters. 12% more young people showed up at the polls in 2015. They massively supported the Liberal Party, 45%. The NDP got 25% of them, and 20% went to the Conservatives. And Mr. Trudeau does not owe his election victory to younger voters, but he probably owes them his governing majority, which is quite a gift. And now I'm going to tell you my 2 stories. One of them involves Mr. Trudeau's recent visit to his alma mater at McGill University. Now, you've probably seen politicians, prime ministers, premiers go to university campuses, and usually a few hundred students do show up to see them. For those of you who are familiar with the looks of McGill University, imagine the front lawn of McGill University, full, and you will have a picture of how many students came out to see Mr. Trudeau. They probably hadn't heard at that point that his government is in the process of ruining their future prospects as doctors, lawyers, and engineers by making changes to private corporations. But in any event, if they are worried about that section of their future, it is not showing. Now, I would wager that Justin Trudeau could show up at just about any university campus in this country and get the same turnout. And I will suggest to you that in my short lifetime as a journalist, I have not seen the likes of this. And if I were a strategist for the NDP or for the Conservatives, a picture like that would spook me. Because I would think this is someone who's got a hell of a leg start on the competition and it has not lost it over his first 2 years in office. The other story does not involve Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, and it took place this week, and it's not something you or anyone else would have seen because it happened to me. Jagmeet Singh was coming to Parliament Hill. The Ontario MPP was running to replace Thomas Mulcair as federal leader of the NDP. And he was coming to Parliament Hill to announce that he had secured significant caucus endorsement of Nathan Cullen, former leadership candidate, one of the better regarded MPs in the House of Commons, and certainly the biggest catch in caucus as endorsements go. Because the news conference room on Parliament Hill is in a dingy basement, well, it looks a bit like this. It doesn't make for great pictures. They decided that the weather was nice. They would walk up the center sidewalk and enter through the center doors, and so told the camera people there will be a photo op, we will walk up the hill and then go and do the news conference. I had a coffee and I was bored, so I walked up to see the walk up. but I didn't want to go to the news conference. The only news at that point that was still to be had was those of us who were waiting to witness the walk kind of having wagers as to what color of a turban Mr. Singh would wear that day. Would it be orange for the NDP? Would it be blue like the previous Sunday? My colleague and I had a discussion about it being baby blue, and I said, no, it's a bit too green. Then he said it's teal, and I told him he had exhausted my capacity in English to figure out colors. So I stayed behind. And even at 9 o'clock in the morning, there are tourists on the front lawn of Parliament Hill, and 4 of them, Asian tourists, not the Generation Y kind, they don't show up at 9 in the morning on Parliament Hill, came to me and they said, is this the new leader of the NDP? And the man who was asking me the question goes like this, and I said, well, you're right, he is one of the persons who is vying for the leadership of the NDP, and he is the one who has a turban. And he tells his wife proudly, he says, we're from Vancouver, we're familiar with him, and he tells his wife, I told you I was the leader of the NDP. Now, that again, when I walked back to my office, I thought, how often, of all of the leadership campaigns I've covered, especially those of the NDP, how often have I met people who are tourists, not politicians, not there to come and brief some politician, who actually can recognize an NDP candidate for the leadership. And I realized that from that standpoint, a turban is both a possible liability and a major asset. And on this, I want to just bring a few more numbers. 19% of Canadians now belong to a visible minority. That was one in 6 in 2008. More than 50% of the voters of the GTA are from, or will be from, a visible minority in the next election. So combine these two realities, and what you have is the face of governments and the face of the House of Commons about to change dramatically, and by the same token, the issues that we will be talking about. And if I have 2 more minutes on this younger generation and the aging phenomenon, I wasn't going to say this, but I figure you look tough enough to handle it. No alcohol. For Alzheimer's Day, the Alzheimer's Association ran a poll, and it asked people who are les aidants naturels, spouses, children of people who have Alzheimer's, whether they felt that the medically assisted death legislation should be adjusted to allow people to give advance consent. And 91% of them said yes. So when you ponder how Generation Y is going to handle you, think of that number.